Reveal what's between your legs, human. Alien girl's bold curiosity. He was calm on the outside, but his thoughts moved fast. He was the first human cultural envoy sent to the Cathari conquered. No weapons, no guards, only words. The Cathari station hung near a pale star, shaped like a wide ring with thin arms reaching outward. It looked fragile, yet Elias knew it was stronger than it appeared. That was something humans understood well. Looks often lied. The airlock opened with a quiet sound. Warm air flowed in, mixed with a faint mineral smell. Elias stepped forward alone. The Cathari waited. They were tall and slim, with smooth skin that shifted color slightly as they moved. Their eyes were large and dark, reflecting light like glass. Their clothing was simple, more symbolic than useful. At the front stood observer Sayla. She was younger than the others, marked by the lighter bands on her arms. She held a data slate close to her chest. Her posture was alert, almost eager. "Human Elias Ward," the lead counselor said, voice calm and even. "Welcome to the conquered exchange station." Elias bowed his head slightly as protocol required. "I thank the conquered for this chance. Humanity comes in peace." The counselors shifted colors, soft green. Approval. Sayla watched him closely, too closely. They led him into a wide chamber shaped like a circle. The floor was smooth and slightly warm. Symbols glowed faintly underfoot. Elias guessed they were recording every movement. He stood at the center. The council took their places. Sayla remained standing. "This exchange," the lead counselor said, "exists to remove fear through knowledge. You will answer questions truthfully." "Yes," Elias replied. "I will." The first questions were expected. Human homeworld conditions, gravity levels, population size, technology limits. Elias answered simply, clearly. He avoided pride, he avoided threat. The council listened. Sayla's color shifted to bright amber. Curiosity. She stepped forward without being called. "Observer Sayla," the lead counselor warned gently. "I request permission to ask," Sayla said quickly. After a pause, the counselor signaled agreement. Sayla faced Elias directly. Her eyes did not blink. "Human Elias," she said, "your species lacks natural armor, claws, or sensory crests. You possess no external balance organs. Yet you survive high-gravity death-world conditions." Elias nodded. "Yes," Sayla tilted her head. "Then explain this." The chamber grew quiet. "What do humans hide between their legs?" The words landed like a dropped tool. Silence. The counselor's colors shifted sharply, confusion, warning, concern. Elias did not move. Inside his mind, thoughts raced. He knew enough about alien cultures to understand this might not be an insult. But humans carried heavy history. Words mattered. He chose calm. Sayla continued, unaware of the tension. "Among the Cathari, critical survival organs are often stored near the center of balance. Some species hide biological weapons there. Others store reproduction control nodes." Her tone was flat, scientific. "We must know," she said. "For safety," Elias slowly let out a breath. "I understand your concern," he said carefully, "but humans do not hide weapons or organs there." The council murmured. Sayla frowned slightly. "Then what is there?" Elias met her gaze. "Nothing that threatens you." That answer did not satisfy her. Sayla stepped closer, not aggressive, just curious. "Your species makes no sense," she said. "You are fragile, soft, and yet your history shows survival through extreme conditions, wars, disasters, starvation." Elias nodded. "That is true." "Then the strength must be hidden," she insisted. The lead counselor raised a limb. "Observer Sayla, this line of questioning. It is essential," Sayla said quickly. "We failed to understand the Orcs. We assumed weakness based on form. We were wrong." That name carried weight. Elias felt the room change. He spoke before the council could end the discussion. "Humans do not hide their strength in anatomy," he said. "We do not carry secret organs or weapons." Sayla studied him. "Then where is it?" Elias paused. "In choice," he said. "In learning. In standing again after falling." The council chamber dimmed slightly as systems adjusted. The answer had not been expected. Sayla's color shifted again, not confusion now, but something deeper. Interest. The council ended the session soon after. Elias was escorted to his assigned quarters. As the doors closed, Elias allowed his shoulders to drop. The question echoed in his mind, but he did not feel anger. He felt concern, not fear of the Cathari, fear that humans would always be misunderstood. Sayla did not return to her rest chamber. She moved instead to the observation deck. Below her, human engineers moved through the station's shared workspace. They were loud, uneven. Their movements lacked grace. And yet, they adapted quickly to Cathari tools. They joked while working, they adjusted when mistakes happened. Sayla replayed the meeting in her mind. She had not meant offense. Among her people, such questions were normal, direct, honest. But the human's stillness when she spoke, she had seen it, not weakness, control. She accessed the human data files again. No claws, no armor, no enhanced senses, and yet survival everywhere. Sayla whispered to herself, "What are you?" Far away, Elias sat alone in his room, staring at the station lights outside the viewport. He knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had asked a question, and humanity had not yet given its full answer. The Cathari station hummed with soft energy, lights pulsing in rhythm with the life support systems. Humans rarely noticed these subtle rhythms, but the aliens thrived in them. Elias Ward moved through the corridors with calm, measured steps, observing everything. He had been given quarters, but more importantly, he had been given trust, small trust, but enough to learn. Meanwhile, observer Sayla did not sleep. She wandered the observation decks and laboratories, quietly watching the humans. Their behaviors fascinated her. Unlike Cathari scientists, humans were messy. Their tools were not perfectly aligned. Their motions were uneven. And yet every mistake seemed to teach them something. Every stumble seemed to lead to progress. Sayla recorded everything. Why do they survive without balance organs? She wondered. Why do they endure conditions that would cripple my species? The human's adaptability defied all logic. Sayla had studied hundreds of species before. She knew which physical traits led to survival. Yet here were humans, fragile on the outside, surviving and even thriving where no other known species could. Elias entered the main lab where other humans were setting up experiments for the Cathari. They moved quickly, communicating in loud voices. One laughed, spilling a vial of liquid. Another stepped in to clean it up, smiling, not frustrated. Sayla tilted her head. Curious, they learn while they work, not by avoiding mistakes. Elias noticed her presence immediately. He did not feel alarmed. Humans had long dealt with alien curiosity. Instead, he offered a polite nod. "Observer Sayla," he said, "if you would like, I can show you how humans adapt to new conditions." Sayla's color brightened, an expression of interest among her kind. "I would like that," she said. They moved to a chamber designed for gravity simulation. It was a cylindrical room with adjustable gravity fields. Elias entered first, moving slowly. Sayla followed, her eyes wide as the gravity began to shift. The floor tilted slightly, the lights flickered, and the human engineers laughed. "What is happening?" Sayla asked. "The gravity is changing," Elias explained. "Your species is built for perfect balance, humans not always." A small human engineer named Lara slipped as the gravity increased. She almost fell but caught herself on a support rail. Sayla gasped. Elias smiled faintly. "Notice how she adapted," he said. "Humans adjust through anticipation and reflex, not specialized organs." Sayla scribbled notes on her data slate. Every movement, every adjustment fascinated her. She began to notice patterns, tiny, almost invisible corrections humans made in response to imbalance. Humans relied on sight, touch, and thinking together, not on pre-designed anatomy. "You survive through learning," Sayla said aloud, "not through design." "Yes," Elias replied. "We learn quickly, we share knowledge, and we repeat until it works. That is our strength." Sayla paused. She had never met a species that thrived on trial and error. Cathari children were trained to avoid mistakes at all costs. Failure was shameful. But humans learned from failure. They embraced it. The next challenge came unexpectedly. A simulated storm in the chamber activated. Machines rattled. Wind gusted. The floor shook as artificial debris tumbled through the room. Several Cathari observers would have frozen. Humans moved. They helped each other, forming chains to stabilize equipment, holding falling tools, securing devices. Sayla's eyes widened. "They are coordinating without direction." "They cooperate naturally," Elias said. "It is not instinct alone, it is choice." The storm ended. The humans wiped sweat and dust from their faces. They laughed. Sayla was shocked. Cathari did not celebrate survival. They survived quietly, stoically. But humans celebrated life. Her curiosity grew. She had asked about what humans carried between their legs. Now she realized that question was meaningless. Humans carried no secret organs, no hidden weapons. Their survival did not rely on anatomy. Their survival relied on mind and will. Elias noticed her expression. He spoke gently. "Curiosity is good, but you must understand not all strength is visible." Sayla frowned slightly. Then how do you endure planets where Cathari would collapse, where storms tear apart your structures, where gravity bends bones? Adaptation, Elias said simply. We think, we experiment, we share knowledge, we persist. Sayla considered his words. She replayed every human failure she had seen, every stumble that ended in learning, every joke after a near disaster. Slowly, a pattern emerged. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but predictable in one thing, their resolve. Your species does not follow known rules, she said quietly. Elias nodded. We make our own rules when necessary. That is how we survive. The chamber quieted. The lesson was over, but the understanding was not. Sayla walked to the edge of the platform, watching humans prepare equipment for the next test. Her mind raced. If humans could survive on death worlds with nothing but their minds, what else could they do? She looked at Elias. Show me more, she said. Very well, he replied. Tomorrow we test endurance under pressure and extreme heat. Are you prepared? Sayla hesitated. The challenge was dangerous by Cathari standards. Humans thrived in conditions she would never tolerate, yet she nodded. I am ready. That night, as the station lights dimmed, Elias reviewed Cathari reports on human physiology. Their scans could not measure creativity. Their instruments could not detect courage. Their sensors could not see persistence. Humans existed in ways the Cathari could barely comprehend. He smiled faintly. Humanity's greatest strength was invisible. Meanwhile, Sayla remained awake in the observation deck. She watched humans moving through their quarters. She noticed small acts of kindness, one human helping another adjust a tool, another laughing despite missing a vital component, another quietly solving a problem that would have baffled machines. This is what they carry, she thought, not organs, not weapons. But something else, something impossible to measure. Morning came with its own challenges. Elias gathered the humans and Sayla in the training chamber. Today, they faced simulated volcanic heat. The room glowed red, steam hissed, and the floor became uneven. The Cathari observers whispered among themselves. Sayla's pulse quickened. She expected the humans to falter. She expected panic. They did not. Humans spread out. They measured the temperature, adjusted protective equipment, and moved steadily through the chamber. Sweat poured down their faces, yet they continued. One human tripped on a rock-like obstacle and fell. Another helped him up immediately. Laughter. They carried on. Sayla's color shifted again, green, the sign of intrigue. How? She whispered. They think, Elias said. They do not depend on biology alone. They depend on mind, will, and collaboration. The Cathari counselors were astonished. They had never seen endurance displayed so naturally. Among all the species they studied, humans were anomalous. Fragile, yes, but almost impossible to stop when driven by need or purpose. By the time the session ended, Sayla was convinced. Her first question had been wrong. She had assumed physical traits dictated survival. She had assumed humans must hide something critical to endure. Now she knew the truth. Humans carry their strength in resolve. As the humans left the chamber, tired but smiling, Elias looked at Sayla. Do you understand now? I think I do, she said. You are nothing like any species I have studied. You survive where others fail. You adapt in ways I cannot measure. You inspire, Elias smiled. It is simple. We do not rely on what nature gives us. We rely on what we learn and what we choose. Sayla paused. She had one final thought. Then, perhaps my first question was foolish. Curiosity is never foolish, Elias said. Only the refusal to understand can be. That night, Sayla returned to the observation deck alone. She watched the stars stretching across the station's windows. Her mind raced, filled with calculations and possibilities. Humans had shown her that survival was not about organs or balance. It was about mind, will, and determination. And that, she realized, was far more dangerous than anything she could scan or predict. The station's lights flickered suddenly, startling everyone. A low hum of alarm pulsed through the corridors. Elias Ward had barely finished breakfast when the announcement came. Gravity fields were failing in several sectors. The artificial gravity was unstable and systems were malfunctioning. The Cathari staff froze. Panic was almost tangible. Their tall, slender bodies, designed for perfect balance, trembled as the artificial gravity faltered. One by one, objects began to float. Papers, tools, even small machinery drifted upward. The Cathari struggled to maintain footing. Elias moved calmly. Humans were trained to handle emergencies. They did not panic at sudden environmental failure. They adapted. He called his team over the intercom. Team, follow me. Check gravity nodes and stabilize manually if needed. Keep communication open. Sayla watched him from the observation deck, her dark eyes wide. Humans were acting calmly while her species flailed. She had not expected this. In the main lab, small machines spun in the air like confused insects. Cathari engineers tried to reach them, only to float backward. Elias stepped forward. He grabbed a loose tool and secured it to a nearby rail. Another human engineer did the same. Form a line, Elias commanded. Pass tools in sequence. Secure anything that moves. The humans obeyed immediately. They formed chains, holding each other to resist floating. Their coordination seemed almost instinctive. Sayla gasped. No species she had studied could perform so well under sudden, unpredictable gravity shifts. A Cathari engineer tried to adjust a control panel but floated backward. Elias reached her just in time, stabilizing her. Hold this rail, he said. Don't fight the motion, work with it. Sayla scribbled notes furiously. The human strategy was simple yet brilliant. They used physics and teamwork, not strength or specialized organs. Hours passed. The station systems wobbled dangerously. Gravity readings spiked and dipped without warning. Every Cathari observer was on edge, fearing structural collapse. Elias moved through the chaos with quiet authority. Check node 7, he shouted. Lara, secure the auxiliary conduits. Lara, the young engineer from yesterday, responded instantly, securing loose wires that floated toward the ceiling. Elias noticed her hands were steady, even under intense stress. Sayla leaned over the railing, almost holding her breath. Humans were thriving in conditions that would cripple the Cathari. She had never imagined that any species could adjust so fast without special anatomy. One section of the station's gravity grid failed completely. Machines drifted dangerously close to the observation deck. Elias saw the risk. Move the console to the reinforced area, he instructed. Two humans pushed and pulled the console, navigating zero gravity as it floated like a massive object in space. Sayla's jaw tightened. No Cathari could have done this without special stabilization appendages. Yet these humans moved with coordination, using thought and practice alone. Minutes later, a system node sparked dangerously. Smoke filled the corridor. Cathari engineers panicked. Elias sprinted forward. Using a simple insulated tool, he stabilized the circuit. Focus, he said to the Cathari beside him. Don't fight the motion, adapt to it. Sayla's notes grew longer. Every command, every adjustment, every calm action was recorded. Humans relied not on organs or reflexes alone, but on thinking, adapting, and teaching each other in real time. By the time the final gravity node stabilized, the humans were exhausted but smiling. They had restored order without casualties. The Cathari Council gathered afterward. The observation deck was silent. Sayla stepped forward, her colors shifted, a mixture of amazement and disbelief. They survived, she said quietly. Yes, Elias replied, not because of anatomy, not because of design, because they adapt, cooperate, and persist. A counselor raised a limb. We have never seen such coordination. Even with training, no species has endured this failure without panic. Elias nodded. Humans rely on more than instinct. They rely on thought, communication, and will. They survive because they choose to survive, even under impossible conditions. Sayla stepped closer. Your species, it is unpredictable, dangerous in ways we cannot measure. Elias smiled faintly. That is correct. You cannot scan for willpower, courage, or persistence. Humans carry these in their minds, not in organs or physical traits. Sayla's mind raced. She had asked a question yesterday that seemed bold, almost foolish. Now she understood. It was not what humans carried between their legs that mattered. Humans carried resolve and adaptability, invisible and immeasurable, yet powerful beyond anything Cathari instruments could detect. The next day, Sayla joined Elias in the lab for observation. She moved carefully, respecting human space. Elias noticed her hesitation and smiled. Do you want to see how we perform under environmental extremes next? He asked. Sayla nodded. Yes, I want to understand fully. They moved to a training area simulating extreme heat. Lava flows, hot air, and uneven terrain created a dangerous scenario. Cathari observers whispered among themselves. Most would have refused. Humans did not. Elias led the humans through the simulation, explaining steps, adjusting equipment, and demonstrating techniques. Sayla watched every motion. Humans stumbled, yes, but every stumble was corrected immediately. They learned from mistakes in real time. Her mind reeled. How could a species survive on worlds hotter, colder, and deadlier than any Cathari planet without natural armor or special organs? They improvise, Elia said, answering her unspoken question. They do not wait for perfection, they adjust and learn. As the simulation ended, humans gathered together discussing mistakes and improvements. Sayla was amazed. Cathari never celebrated learning from failure. They avoided mistakes entirely. But humans thrived on learning. Elias approached her. Do you understand now why your first question was unnecessary? Sayla nodded. I understand your strength is not in your body, it is in your mind and your choices. He smiled. Exactly, that is why humans survive where others fail. By mid-afternoon, Sayla joined the humans in small tasks, trying to imitate their techniques. She moved awkwardly, struggling to adapt to the constant changes, yet she persisted. Every failure taught her something new. Slowly, she began to understand the principle of adaptation, not perfection, not strength, but learning and persistence. You are remarkable, she said quietly to Elias, not because of anatomy, but because of what you carry in your mind. Elias looked at her with calm amusement. We call it humanity. The observation deck filled with Cathari watching the humans. Murmurs of awe spread. Sayla realized that the Council's earlier doubts were misplaced. Humans were not just another species. They were a force the galaxy could not predict. That night, Sayla recorded her notes, reviewing every event of the day. Humans had shown courage, intelligence, and cooperation. She realized that her species had judged all life too narrowly. They had assumed strength required physical specialization. Humans proved otherwise. As Elias retired to his quarters, he reflected on the day. The crisis had been a test, and humans had passed with resilience, creativity, and teamwork. The Cathari now had data, but it was incomplete. They could measure strength, anatomy, and speed, but they could not measure willpower. Sayla, still awake, gazed at the stars. She thought of the humans and their unexpected strength. I came seeking anatomy, she whispered. I leave understanding will. The galaxy had underestimated humans once again. And that, Elias knew, was just the beginning. The day after the gravity crisis, the station was unusually quiet. The Cathari Council convened early in the observation chamber. Their tall, slender forms shifted slowly as they spoke. Every Cathari was aware of what had happened. The humans had survived chaos that would have crippled any other species. Elias Ward entered the council chamber, his posture calm, his expression neutral. He had expected skepticism, but he had also seen something else in the council's colors: hesitation, curiosity, and now, respect in small amounts. Sayla was already there, standing slightly apart. Her skin shifted a bright amber, indicating focus and determination. She had prepared her report, but this time it was different. Her understanding of humans had grown overnight. What she would say to the council could change the course of interspecies relations. Elias Ward, the lead counselor said, voice calm but formal. We have reviewed your performance during the recent crises. The data is unusual. Elias nodded. Unusual in what way? The counselor's limbs shifted slowly. No known species has shown such resilience under multiple environmental failures. Your species' ability to adapt is unquantifiable. We must understand your methods before we proceed with further exchange programs. Sayla stepped forward. Counselors, she began, I have observed the humans directly. I have studied their behavior during extreme conditions. I have concluded that the previous assumptions about human strength were incorrect. The room shifted colors, interest, and surprise. The council rarely accepted personal observation over measured data. They survive, Sayla continued, not because of specialized organs or enhanced anatomy, but because of their mind. They adapt, they learn, they persist, and they cooperate unlike any species I have studied. A counselor leaned forward, voice softer than usual. You mean to say that humans survive through thought and willpower? Yes, Sayla said firmly. Their strength is invisible, it cannot be scanned, it cannot be measured, yet it is undeniable. Elias watched carefully. Sayla had become the first Cathari to speak openly about human abilities in terms beyond anatomy. It was risky, but necessary. He knew that alien species often feared the unknown, and humans were still an unknown force. One young counselor asked, and what of their behavior toward others? Do they act selfishly under pressure? Sayla shook her head. They act as a unit, they help one another, they learn from mistakes and teach each other. Their survival depends on cooperation and choice, not dominance or instinct. Elias added quietly, humans do not see survival as a solitary act. They see it as a shared responsibility. That is why they endure where others fail. The council was silent. None of them had expected a human to survive and thrive in conditions designed to test alien specialists. They had assumed physical advantage dictated outcome. Sayla's words challenged their assumptions. Finally, the lead counselor spoke. We underestimated your species, Elias Ward, and now we face the question, can we trust humans to participate in joint operations without risk? Elias remained calm. Trust must be earned, but humans have already proven their reliability under extreme conditions. They have demonstrated creativity, endurance, and cooperation. I believe these qualities make them valuable partners. Sayla stepped closer. I personally support this. Humans are unlike any species we have encountered. Fear of them is unnecessary. Respect and understanding are required instead. The counselor's colors shifted again. Amber, green, and soft blue, a combination that indicated cautious approval. You speak boldly, Observer Sayla, the lead counselor said. Your opinion carries weight. Your assessment may alter our stance on interspecies cooperation. Sayla's skin shimmered slightly. She had worked hard to earn their trust, and now she realized her own perception had changed as well. Humans were no longer simply a species to be studied. They were teachers in ways the Cathari could never have imagined. Later, Elias returned to his quarters, expecting rest. Instead, Sayla followed him, carrying her data slate. Elias, she said, I want to learn more. Not only about survival, but about your choices, your decisions, your methods. I want to understand fully how humans think. Elias studied her expression. There was no malice, no judgment, only genuine curiosity. He smiled faintly. Then I will show you, he said. Over the next several hours, Elias guided Sayla through human problem-solving exercises. They repaired a malfunctioning energy conduit together. He allowed her to attempt solutions first, then demonstrated alternative approaches. She made mistakes, small ones, but each was a lesson. What I notice, she said finally, is that humans do not fear failure, they use it. Yes, Elias replied. Failure is part of learning. We rely on it to adapt. It teaches us what works and what does not. Sayla's skin shifted a deep green, a sign of deep reflection. It is difficult to imagine. Cathari cannot function this way. Mistakes are shameful. Perfection is expected, yet humans thrive because they accept imperfection. Elias nodded. That is why we endure. Not because we are stronger, faster, or smarter in any physical sense, but because we continue no matter the odds. Sayla recorded her observations. She realized that her first question, the one that had shocked everyone, was based on misunderstanding. Humans did not carry their strength in anatomy. They carried it in mind, heart, and will. The next day, a council meeting was convened to discuss the humans' role in future operations. Sayla presented her findings in full. The human species demonstrates qualities we cannot measure physically. Yet these qualities allow them to survive, adapt, and cooperate under conditions that challenge even Cathari specialists. I recommend we fully integrate humans into joint missions. A murmur ran through the council. Elias stood beside Sayla silently. The young counselors whispered among themselves. Humans, fragile as they appeared, had proven themselves in ways that could not be denied. The lead counselor finally spoke. Observer Sayla's report is thorough. We accept her assessment. Humans shall participate in joint programs under supervision. Their abilities will be observed, but they shall be trusted. Sayla exhaled softly, relief flooding her senses. She had risked speaking openly. But now humans had earned the respect she had hoped to convey. Later, she sought Elias in the observation deck. The humans were quietly repairing minor systems, laughing and cooperating. You were right, she said. It was never about anatomy, it was about will. And now the council sees it too, Elias smiled. Humans are most effective when trusted. That is why we survive, not because of what we have, but because of what we choose to do. Sayla considered his words. For the first time, she saw humans not as a species to be analyzed, but as equals worthy of respect. Their strength was not a secret. It was visible in action, in thought, in persistence, and in cooperation. As the sun of the pale star rose across the station's rings, Sayla realized she no longer wanted to merely observe humans. She wanted to learn from them, to understand fully how they approached life, challenge, and survival. Elias glanced at her, understanding her unspoken thought. "Curiosity is the start of understanding," he said. "Yes," Sayla replied, "and respect is the result." For the first time, the Cathari observer felt something unfamiliar, an admiration for another species that did not depend on physical traits. Humans had changed her perspective. They had challenged assumptions, proven worth, and earned respect not by strength alone, but by mind, courage, and heart. And Sayla knew in the days to come, humans would continue to surprise everyone who underestimated them. The station, once a place of strict hierarchy and observation, now held a new truth. Humans carried something no technology could measure, no scan could detect, and no assumption could predict. They carried willpower, creativity, and the refusal to give up, and in that they were unmatched. The pale star cast soft light across the Cathari station. Elia's ward stood near the observation deck, watching the humans work. They moved with quiet efficiency, repairing small systems, organizing supplies, and helping each other without fuss. Their actions were unremarkable in appearance, yet Sayla and the Council had begun to see the truth. Nothing about humans could be measured by Cathari instruments. Sayla approached Elias holding her data slate. Her skin glowed a deep green, a sign of contemplation and calm focus. "Elias," she said, "I have reviewed all your species' actions during these past days. I believe I now understand what humans truly carry." Elias tilted his head slightly. "And what is that?" Sayla smiled softly. "It is not physical strength. It is not anatomy or speed. You carry resolve, you carry creativity, you carry persistence, and most importantly, you carry each other." Elias nodded. "That is correct. Humanity survives not because of what we have, but because of what we choose to do together." She paused, glancing at the humans below. Lara adjusted a tool for another engineer. Elias helped a floating console into place. They laughed lightly at a small mistake, then continued working without frustration. "These humans," Sayla said quietly, "they make mistakes, yet they learn, they face danger, yet they remain calm. They are fragile, yet unyielding. How do they endure?" "Through choice," Elias replied. "Through cooperation, through the willingness to face failure and continue. We survive because we do not give up. We adapt, we think, and we act together." Sayla's mind raced. For centuries, the Cathari had measured survival by physical traits and instinct. Strength, balance, reflexes. Humans defied all assumptions. No species in the conquered had survived so many challenges without specialized anatomy, yet humans thrived. "I see now," Sayla whispered. "The galaxy has underestimated your species. It should not have." The lead counselor's voice echoed through the observation deck. "Elias Ward, Observer Sayla, I wish to address the findings of this station's recent evaluations. The humans have proven their abilities beyond expectation. While we cannot quantify their strength with instruments, their actions demonstrate capabilities no measured data could predict. They have earned respect, trust, and a place among our allied missions." Sayla stepped forward, feeling pride in her species' choice to listen to truth. "They do not carry their strength in anatomy. They carry it in mind, in will, and in their commitment to each other. That is why they endure." The counselors shifted colors slowly, a sign of agreement. Among all the Cathari, only Sayla's young observations had bridged the gap between data and understanding. Humans were no longer unknown. They were respected. Elias observed the humans below. They had no weapons drawn. They had no defensive modifications, yet they carried the station forward with skill, patience, and courage. Sayla had asked a question when she first met him, a question that startled the room and froze the council. "What do humans carry between their legs?" The answer had never been about anatomy. The answer had always been about willpower, intelligence, and choice. Humans carried the power to endure, the power to learn, and the power to cooperate. That invisible strength had impressed the Cathari more than any weapon or organ could. Later that day, the humans gathered in the common chamber for a meeting with the council. Elias stood in the center, observing the assembly. Cathari observers were cautious at first, but Sayla stood beside Elias, ready to speak on humanity's behalf. She addressed the council. "These humans have survived situations no other species could endure. They have faced gravity failure, extreme environmental conditions, and mechanical crises. Yet they adapted every time. Not through natural design, but through choice, collaboration, and persistence. Their strength is invisible, yet undeniable. I recommend full cooperation in all future operations involving humans, the counselors murmured. The older counselor, who had been skeptical since the humans arrived, leaned forward. Observer Sayla, your words confirm what we have observed but could not explain. Humans are exceptional. Though fragile by our measures, they have demonstrated qualities beyond measurement. Trusting them is not just prudent, it is necessary. Sayla's glow brightened slightly. She looked at Elias and whispered, You have taught us much, more than we expected. Elias inclined his head. We only show what we do naturally. Humans survive because we choose to survive. We help each other. We learn, that is all. The Council approved full integration of humans into cooperative operations. For the first time, the Cathari formally recognized the unseen strength of humanity. As the humans prepared to leave the station for a joint training exercise, Sayla approached Elias one last time before departure. I came to learn about your anatomy, she said softly. I leave knowing that your mind, your courage, and your persistence are your true gifts. You have changed my understanding of life. Elias smiled. I am glad. Understanding comes before fear, and humans survive because we embrace understanding, not avoidance. Sayla considered him for a moment. I wish I could carry this knowledge back to my people fully. They will need time to accept it. Elias nodded. Change takes time, but you are the bridge. You have already started it. The humans boarded their small transport pods. The Cathari watched silently. No species had impressed them like this before. They had measured strength, skill, reflexes, and resilience, but humans had none of these in conventional forms. Instead, they carried something immeasurable, unstoppable, and inspiring. Sayla whispered to herself as the humans departed, It is not what they carry, it is how they carry it, and that is something the galaxy must respect. As the pods glided away from the station, Elias looked out at the stars. For centuries, humans had survived impossible worlds, disasters, and conflicts. Their secret was simple: courage, intelligence, cooperation, and unyielding will. The Cathari would remember this day. They had judged humans on appearances, as most species did. They had expected fragility, they had feared weakness, but humans had proven that true strength is invisible. It lies in the mind, the heart, and the choices one makes. Sayla returned to the council with her full report. The Cathari updated their records. Under human strength, they wrote simply, unmeasurable will. It was the first time the council had acknowledged that strength did not always come from anatomy, organs, or instinct. Sometimes it came from refusal to give up, creativity, and the courage to face the impossible together. Later, Sayla looked at the night sky from her observation deck. The humans had left, but their actions and philosophy lingered. They had changed her perspective on life, survival, and cooperation. She understood now that their first question, the one that had shocked everyone, was the beginning of something far greater. The galaxy had witnessed a species that could not be measured, yet could not be ignored. A species that could adapt, survive, and inspire without relying on strength alone. Humanity had proven itself, not with claws, armor, or enhanced senses, but with the greatest tools any species could possess: mind, courage, and will. Elias Ward, traveling back to the human ship, reflected on the events. The Cathari would never forget this encounter. Humans had left not only their presence but a lesson for all intelligent life. Survival is not always physical, and strength is not always visible. And in that lesson lay the heart of humanity. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and the humans moved among them, undaunted, creative, persistent, and united. The galaxy would remember. The first contact had begun with a bold question. It ended with respect, understanding, and an enduring legacy of unseen strength.